Alright folks, turn 50, and well, the plan's proceeding. There's not a whole lot of other news this turn, to be honest. I mean, we all already gone through what's happening over and over and over again. So, the army's moved in, didn't run into much. Just a little bit of province defense and some random little garbage monkeys. So, we're doing fine. However, at this point we will have tipped our hand, of course, because if Lucid is paying attention, which he should be, he will have seen the Immaculate Shield on Snoop Dogg here, so he'll know what it is that we're trying to do. Unfortunately, there wasn't really a good way to avoid that. I could have, I guess, gotten him a shade mail and kind of snuck him in, but I kind of wanted the army. So the army's moving in. The Gate Cleaver Scouts are sneaking through to the next province as well. Fortunately, and this is really, really nice, and I didn't actually, I should have probably noticed this beforehand, but I hadn't realized, both of these provinces have actually been attacked by independent bands of knights and, in this case, barbarians. So there is no threat from these provinces whatsoever. They can't possibly reach me in time, I don't think. I guess if he staged a breakout this turn and then went here next turn, he could maybe do it. I think they take casualties doing that, though. These are pretty tough indie pop types. This has been upgraded. It's no longer a palisade, now it's a fortress, which is a bummer, but given that the total siege strength here is 550, I should still be able to crack it. You would have to stack a lot of units in there in order to make it too tough for me to crack in one turn. I don't think all these units that I see here would do it. I really don't think they would, because a lot of them are... They don't have very good siege defense, if I've done my math right. Where is it? Yeah, siege defense 1 for Bandar. So, yeah, Bandar can do it, but Markata contribute almost nothing. And Gandharvas and Apsaras and White Ones even, I don't think contribute all that much, because they're weaker. Yeah, White Ones are only 0.5, so it's only really the Bandar that add a lot. And Elephants are... I feel like Elephants contribute less, like Wolves do, because they're... No, they're not undisciplined, I guess. I don't know. I don't think they can, I don't think they can siege-proof the thing. Just because I have those 6 Gate Cleavers. Against the army, just the army, they could hold it for a couple of turns. If they piled everything in. But against the army and the Gate Cleavers, I don't think they can. So I think we've got it here. I've transferred this province over to Ulm, so he's going to be dropping his Wizard's Tower here next turn. Childish Gambino and Macklemore are moving up to hit this province next turn. And hopefully, Lucid will launch his attack. Will try to chase me, and they'll bust that army up and prevent him from accomplishing anything. And then beyond that, I'm just moving people around to continue garrisoning the thrones. So everything is proceeding according to the scenario. I lost this province to a random villain attack. So Ofer, who I have not renamed, I should give him a name. I'm trying to think of a rapper I haven't used yet. I'll get back to that. I'll do that off camera. Old Dirty Bastard is going down here, and he's going to threaten Lucid from another angle in order to try and prevent him from ganging up too hard. I'm actually going to send Tupac along with him. Tupac is, sadly crippled, but he can still cast Phoenix Pyre. And I think Tupac can still do some pretty decent work. I think he can do some good work. So we'll have Tupac and his Anakites will move out to join our good old friend here, and they will attack Lucid from this direction to keep his mind off of this, if that is possible. If I was a smart man, I would have organized this last turn, but I'm not, so I didn't. So we'll have to hope that it's in time to at least control some of his forces up in this area. So that's the turn, and we'll everything else is in place. We're just waiting for the signal to claim these 2 thrones. Wilbur will be grabbing that throne, and then we have this 3rd one to go. So exciting times. So in any case, I'll see you all in turn 51, and we'll see how well things are progressing. Take care. All right, turn 51. This is it. Or well, this isn't exactly it, but this is a place we've been before in the in Machaca game, and once more into the Breach. We are about to launch our assault in an effort to take the last throne fortress, and we have to break this fort in one turn. Now, we're in a much better place than we were once more into the breach, because nothing is under siege, and all of my forts have very significant defense. This giant fortress up here is probably the most vulnerable. We've got a wizard's tower here, which has 1,000 wall integrity, so I don't believe even this army, I don't believe that stat can break this fort in one turn. I don't think it can. I sure freaking hope they can't. If they can, then we have a serious problem. But we've got our various thugs here. We do have Childish Gambino. So if necessary, Childish Gambino, who has chosen to spend this turn reanimating ghouls, can double back and hit Kani's plane. Although he has chi shoes. Do we have Boots of the Messenger? We do not. Yeah, let's leave the chi shoes on him. I think with map move 21, I think he can hop across this province to hit Kani's plane. Oh, I'm a little bit nervous. I'm a little bit nervous. That's the only way I can see that we get stopped, is if this army can hop down here and they actually have 1,000 siege strength, which I don't think they do, but flyers have double siege strength, so each of these flying units counts as 1, and the condors count as like 6. So if they have the map move to cross and hit Kani's plane, and if they have 1,000 siege strength, they can potentially stop us. So here's the situation. My stack up here with the hidden gate cleavers is launching their attack. I'm sending Macklemore as well to help, although to be honest, I may want to keep Macklemore back just in case. I've got 3 thugs here. I'm going to send Macklemore back. I'm going to send Macklemore back to Kani's plane. He'll bless Phoenix Pyre, Fire Shield, and resist cold. He should be fine. He'll be capable of taking out very, very large quantities of the enemy there. With 10 shock resist, he probably will end up paralyzed, but I got him the Amulet of Resilience, so he has Reinvigoration 11. So he is not going to be killed through his Phoenix Pyre easily. It will take... it'll be tremendously difficult to kill him through Phoenix Pyre. He'll just keep exploding and reforming and exploding and reforming, and they do have fire resistance on their Sacred, so they wouldn't take much damage from that, but in any case. Macklemore's going to double back. Childish Gambino is here. So I'll have... in order to actually storm... So basically what I'm worried about is this army right here. Since Bandars and Gandharvas and Apsaras are high strength, Gandharvas especially are 15 strength like Bandars are, so they each have 1 siege defense each. That being so, this army might be able to, because they'll have about 300 siege defense, and this fort has 250 wall integrity, so they might theoretically be able to hold the fort for 1 turn against my 545 siege strength. And that would be a huge bummer. That said, I'm feeling good about this. I'm casting Dirge for the Dead. I'm summoning another Ditanu right here in Black Alps. And I'm also summoning some Ogre Siege Shaft and reanimating more ghouls and all that good stuff. So, should be able to go pretty well. Don't know, please cast Dirge for the Dead. So should go well here. I think we can do it. I'm feeling good about it. I think we're in a pretty good place. So that's the turn. I was attacked by barbarians over here who overwhelmed the province defense. Don't care. Anyone who wants to besiege this fort will have to go through them. It doesn't actually affect me at all because I wasn't... I mean, it cuts off my recruitment of siege chaff, but I'm already up to 100 siege defense here, so okay. I'm solid down here. I'm sending in Tupac and Old Dirty Bastard to snake away some provinces. Just, you know, just like in case. And Ofer, with his Anakites, is going to head up north in an effort to be helpful to someone somewhere. So that's the turn. I'm nervous. We'll see how this goes. In any case, I'll see you all on turn 52. Take care. Alright, folks, turn 52, and let's see how things went here. So we cast Dirge for the Dead here. Wilberpost has claimed the Throne of Abundance, so now we only need 3. And Nasajin's excited. I'm excited too. We're getting really, really, really close. We received Krupp's bracers from Ulm, which are like an upgraded bracers of protection. They give you reinvigoration, and they give 4 protection and 4 defense instead of 2. So they're pretty neat. I've given them to Tevel here, my only non-rapper Adon, who's been with me. This is the old blood. He's been with me from the beginning. He's still on top of the Hall of Fame, and of course he got the heroic endurance, so he reinvigorates like crazy, which is actually really great. He's standing here holding the Sword of Injustice, and he is claiming the Throne of Eternal Suffering this turn. We're going for it because I'm a little bit worried that these birds are going to try to jump me, and I want the throne claimed if they try to break down the place. Because RDL down here is claiming this Throne of Ascension. We've got Chance the Rapper. I renamed that other Adon I recruited finally. Chance the Rapper guarding this throne, just in case something goes haywire. And let's look at our battles, shall we? So there was a battle in Norfangs. We were actually attacked by... this is our first... I believe, technically, this is our first look at Bandar Log's god. I already knew what he was, roughly. But this is King Kong the Chiranjeevi. So the Chiranjeevi is a Bandar Log, or a Monkey Nation specific pretender god chassis who eats books. The Chiranjeevi has acquired a taste for books of lore and will occasionally demand that the works of researching mages be brought to him for consumption, which is kind of hilarious. He's the opposite of an inspiring researcher. He lowers research in a province. So it's kind of funny that they gave him all these rainbow paths and made him a fantastic researcher, because you don't actually want him researching, really. He is Dominion Immortal, so he has the crappy immortality. And he's gluttonous. He's monster summons. I don't know what he summons. I'm not sure, but he's been going around fighting a little bit, and he has lots of magic paths. He has some gems. He's accompanied by an army mainly of Ganas, which are ethereal, and some Bandar warriors, plus 1 Mound King, presumably leading the Ganas, and a couple of Revenant commanders, oddly enough. And on my side, I have my scroll wheel seems to have reversed itself. That's very strange. On my side, I have Old Dirty Bastard, the Ditanu. And it won't be his first combat. He's already got 31 kills, so he's proven himself. But he's got his thug gear on, and he's going to go into Batal. So the province defense is going to run in and get slaughtered while Old Dirty Bastard is casting his buffs. Once his buff cycle is complete, he is magic resistance 27, protection 30, and of course he's ethereal, and he resists pretty much all types of damage very, very strongly. And of course he is quickened as well. So Old Dirty Bastard rushes into the middle of these ghosts, and mostly they can't hit him because with their morale lowered by his fear, they cannot hit through his, because he has fear 11, so they can't hit through his awe. This is the fear awe combo. Every time somebody flickers, that someone is not even swinging. So mostly they can't even swing at him. When they do swing at him, they can't hit him. Because even as surrounded as he is, his defense skill is still 14. And if they do hit him, they can't do damage past his protection. And if they do damage past his protection, they can't get past his ethereal. So he just massacres everybody. The Chiranjeevi runs off, and Old Dirty Bastard zips around, stabbing fools until they all escape, the survivors. So 48 kills for Old Dirty Bastard, and the army is defeated. In Peskin, we went in with Tupac. Tupac, the one-armed Adon with his chi shoes. And he blessed himself up. He cast Phoenix Pyre and Fire Shield, and then he went in. So he's got pretty high fatigue, but he's got and low reinvigoration. That's the unfortunate bit. Probably the Phoenix Pyre, honestly, for him isn't even fantastic, just because in a big battle he would die. Like you can see, his fatigue is still fairly high, even with his 4 reinvigoration. So, yeah, but it's worth doing just on the off chance it would save him once. So he wiped out a little bit of defense there. And then there was a battle in the New Coast. This was the assault on the fort, and the enemy came out to meet me. So on the other side of the field, we have a pretty substantial little monkey communion of yogis and gurus with a crystal sorceress or 2 mixed in. We've got a whole bunch of light Bandar warriors and Bandar warriors with iron cudgels. We've got a few white ones. Mixed in, we have some Gandharvas, which are the warrior summons with awe. We've also got a number of Apsaras, which are the unarmed summons with awe and the standard effect. He's got a few elephants mixed in, And that's basically what he's got. And way in the back, he has a Nagini and a Naga warrior. On my side, of course, we've seen this army before. I have my Anakites, I have my Skeleton Horsemen, I have my Little Communion, and I have my Scouts with the Gate Cleavers. And I have Notorious B.I.G. the Adon with his full Super Combatant kit. Now, I've left some of my Adons behind because I didn't want to risk losing the Immaculate Shield in this battle, so Snoop Dogg is not with us. As I think I mentioned in the last video, I believe I talked about that, but in any case, he's not here. So it's all down to Biggie and the army. So, as the fighting starts, both sides communion up. My Skeleton Horsemen, some of them race forward. My troops start casting Horde of Skeletons. We've got Light of the Northern Star going down. And we start to get Soul Slay going down. So my mages are spamming Soul Slay into these Bandar. Up here, Biggie has completed his buff cycle, which is somewhat abbreviated, but he's got his resistances, he's got his damage resistance, and of course he is regenerating and has his Blood Surge active and all of that, so his attack and defense skills are both obscene. And of course he's attacking 4 times per round at very, very high damage, and the Frostbrand attacks are area of effect. So Biggie just goes freaking ham. He's just in there crushing it. Meanwhile, there's some Gift from Heaven falling down. The Anakites are mainly holding on. One of my Ahiman Anakites routes here. Most of my Anakites do get killed. They get killed because these Bandar warriors with the high damage, they can punch through Anakite protection and inflict pretty significant damage. On top of that, many of my Anakites are diseased from going through these starvation provinces that didn't have any resources. So you can see my Anakites are going down, except for the ones, of course, that are back here guarding the rear. These guys. But Biggie, on the other hand, Biggie is mostly surrounded and could not possibly care less. He is just crushing it. With his 7 reinvigoration, he is gaining fatigue only extremely slowly. He's 46, 42. He's actually losing fatigue. 38. Why is he losing fatigue? I would think with 5 encumbrance, I would think he would be gaining fatigue. Well, whatever. In any case, Biggie is just in the middle of these guys, killing them. Still have Soul Slays going down all over the shop, and the Skeletons and Biggie are going to drive the enemy from the field. You can see here they just chew through the monkeys. That's Biggie. He's just doing what he does. And as more and more Skeletons flood forward, the stunned monkey mages are surrounded and slowly chopped down. Once Notorious B.I.G. can't get to them anymore, the rate slows down a lot because these monkeys are ethereal and regenerating and have liquid body, so it makes them hard for Skeletons to kill them, but eventually they get that one as well. So, not that one, it was the New Coast. So, I did lose a number of my communion slaves. I lost most of them, possibly all, and I'm not sure whether that was entirely due to enemy fire or due to my own spells killing them. I think it was probably my own spells primarily, but I didn't lose any of the Zamzamites. I lost 7 of my Anakites and all of my chaff, basically. But the important thing, Biggie survived, and most of my important mages survived. My Roughite Sages, you can see, the guys who were spamming, who were throwing Soul Slay, 39 kills. 39 kills. That's impressive. On the enemy side, we wiped out all 9 of their Gurus, plus their Rishi. We also killed 9 of their Yogis. So we killed 19 mages right here. And that is rough. That's harsh. Of course, I mean, we lost 9 mages of our own. And our mages were actually, on average, more expensive. Well, only slightly more expensive. And we killed more than 200 of their units. About a third of their Light Bandar warriors, almost all of their Gandharvas and Bandar warriors, almost all of their Apsaras, all of their elephants, and almost all of their white ones. So this army, there's about 150 of them left, and they will have retreated into the fort. On my side, a couple of people did retreat, but overall we're doing very, very well. We were attacked by barbarians in Holoma, don't really care except they killed a Jade Sorceress. Unexpected events in Peskin, we got some gold, and in Jahira, we got some resources, plus the attack on Holoma, of course. And Notorious B.I.G. is extraordinarily agile, and Old Dirty Bastard now has heroic battle prowess. So, here we go. We are claiming Black Alps, we're claiming the Throne of Eternal Suffering, and in the Promised Land, we're claiming the Throne of the Second Age. Up here, We've got Snoop Dogg with the Immaculate Shield that makes him Holy Level 3, moving into the New Coast. We've also got Childish Gambino moving into the New Coast, and the real Slim Shady, sorry, is hopping up here to Feral Woods just to lock this fort down, just to make sure they can't pull some kind of a surprise on us. If these troops do attack, Childish Gambino and Snoop Dogg should be more than capable of holding them back. Up north, we are launching counterattacks of our own old dirty bastards, going to lay siege to this fort and lock up King Kong, and Tupac and his Anakites are moving down into Lyratos to fight these light Bandar warriors and white ones, a battle that they definitely should win. And I don't see hardly any threats. Olm has summoned Origines, the King of the Mountains. Up here, I summoned Ice-T, the Ditan, just to give myself a little bit more oomph in Black Alps in case these armies jump me. If they do, Ice-T and Tevil should be able to hold them off. Plus, I've got these Death 3 mages who can spam out skeletons. And if absolutely necessary, I should be able to get a small communion running somehow. I think I have some crystal matrices somewhere. Anyway, even if I couldn't, it wouldn't matter all that much. There's so much garbage chaff here. Like, let me just assemble all this garbage chaff into the province, and we'll see how much I actually have. Yeah, it's about no, I was about to say about 300 units, but no, it's significantly more than that. Yeah, I have so much chaff. I have over 400 units of chaff here, and then I've also equipped the banner of the effigy of war, because why not? So he shouldn't have the oomph to cut through all. Well, he might, because the Supayas are really, really good. But basically what I'll do is, if he attacks me, I'll break siege with Ice-T and Tevil, and those two should be able to massacre their way through a huge number of birds. And since I already have 258 siege defense, pretty much all I'd have to do is kill about half of the Condors or so, and I think I'd be able to hold the fort indefinitely. So unless something unexpected pops up in the next turn, literally next turn, I think we've got this. Knock on wood. So, yeah, that is turn 52, and I'll see you all in turn 53. Alright, folks, it's turn 53, and this is it. I got a whole bunch of items from Ulm, including an Ice Aegis for some reason. Interestingly, but, Tevil has claimed the Throne of Eternal Suffering, Gazardiel has claimed the Throne of the Second Age. We found some magic sites, actually, which is a little too late to be useful, but we were attacked in the New Coast, and let's view that battle. So we were attacked by, this is basically the remnants of the army that we drove off before. They've got their Nagini here, they've got their Apsaras and their Gandharvas, they've got their Bandar warriors all spaced out here, and they are ready to go, desperately trying to push us off of this throne. On my side, I have an army that's fairly small by comparison, but does contain 3 extremely powerful units. I've got Childish Gambino, the Ditanu, down here. I have Notorious B.I.G., good old Biggie Smalls, rocking his 24 Prot 21 magic resistance, and, of course, I have Snoop Dogg, the Adon, carrying the Immaculate Shield. He is my throne claimer, and he is no slouch. Also, he's carrying a bunch of Astral Pearls. I didn't have time to transfer them to anyone else, so he's just going into battle with those. So, fight starts, we set up our little communion, and we start spamming skeletons like there's no tomorrow. Also made a few of our Anakites immaterial, and there go the boys. So Snoop Dogg charges in ahead. Childish Gambino gets caught up on these white ones up in front. Meanwhile, in the back, Notorious B.I.G. is just calmly, deliberately finishing his buff cycle. They have dropped Mistform and Barkskin on their light Bandar warriors, so they are all susceptible to fire as well as all cursed. Well, up here, Biggie is coming in now, doing his thing. Snoop Dogg has gotten trampled a little bit, but he's big enough and tough enough that he just pretty much kills people trying to trample him pretty quickly. And while surrounded, he's actually doing alright for now. He has been stunned. But he's hacking his way through. Unfortunately, he starts taking a couple of big hits because his defense skill is very low since he's been harassed so much. And he doesn't have much by way of crowd control besides his Astral Shield, which is working. It's stunning people around him. But with the Immaculate Shield, he has the Awe, but he doesn't have Fear to make it better. And he doesn't have either the Fire Shield effect or the, which would actually be really good against these guys since they're vulnerable to fire, or the what do you call it? He doesn't have the Vine Shield either, so those 31 damage hits are sneaking through now and then. He is taking damage. Over here, Notorious B.I.G. has actually taken 2 afflictions in rapid succession, but he is nowhere near dead. He's taken almost no damage. And off to the side, Childish Gambino is just cleaning house. So, we've got some skeletons kind of holding people back in the middle. My scouts are running around like chickens with their head cut off. I don't know what they're trying to do. I think they're trying to stay behind guys. And unfortunately, Snoop Dogg did get clubbed down by these Bandar warriors, but immediately afterwards, the armies of Bandar Log break and run. So, we are victorious. We did lose Snoop. Rip in peace, Snoop Dogg. But, we do still have Biggie. So, immediately afterwards, we attacked the fortress in the New Coast. And fortunately, there was not much here. There was nothing here except for the province defense. So Biggie just went through his buff cycle, tempered his flesh, iron-skinned up. He's up to 32 fatigue when he's done. Blessed himself, and went in for the kill. And so Biggie just charged in. I don't know, this is a little bit weird for me, but he charged in up here, killed some guys, ran over to the other side, killed some guys. Ran back and forth a couple of times. But, you know what? Whatever makes him happy, man. So he just cut his way through these guys and had no trouble whatsoever. So, we've taken the New Coast. We were attacked by villains in Cormark, but nobody cares. And Childish Gambino is now a hero. So, I've swapped some units around. There is a lab here, so I've actually given him the Sword of Injustice and a charcoal shield. This is all in order to make sure that nothing happens to him. Now, he can't be seduced by dryads or anything because Satis and Pangea own no provinces next door. He can't effectively be assassinated because, that's why I stacked the defense of the regeneration. The charcoal shield was the important one. He needed a fire shield effect. The regeneration and the fire shield combined with his self-earth buffs should be enough to make him unassassinatable. If somebody comes in and casts Creeping Doom or Swarm or something, he should be able to fight his way through it with the combination of the Temper Flesh that he'll get up and his the fire shield killing bugs as they attack him, plus the regeneration. He shouldn't be taking all that much damage on any given turn, so he should be all right there. We're getting Wilbur Post to Cloud Trapeze in just in case something kills Biggie, but we are, for right now, like, doing okay. And actually, just doubly extra super in case, I'm also going to summon a Mound Fiend here. So we will have 2 claimants next turn if for some reason Biggie goes down. We've got Childish Gambino, we've got our whole army here. Up here, the real Slim Shady hit the fortress at Feral Woods and took it, wiped out the province defense with no trouble. And so he is just standing here, whistling, tapping his toes, making it clear that nobody comes out, nobody gets in, unless he says so. I'm actually probably going to send... strongly tempted to send Childish Gambino right in to drive off this army to make sure they don't attack again. Yeah, let's do that. I'm going to send Childish Gambino and the real Slim Shady both into the high peaks. And Yehiel does not need that. Give it to Pinchas. We picked up, we picked up a few extra items here. Childish Gambino, you actually could use that Ring of Regeneration. Because since he's undead, but he's not inanimate. So he does actually regenerate, funnily enough, for being a ghost skeleton. Literally a ghost skeleton. He's pierce resistant like skeletons are, and ethereal like ghosts are. That's a funny thing about Dita News. They're just kind of hilariously powerful. We're going to give that to Jonathan. Stole my name, the bastard. And yeah, we are, unless something very unexpected happens, we've won at this point. I'm claiming the throne with Biggie, so like I said, they can't seduce him. They could potentially assassinate him, but first they'd have to hit him. Everyone else here is disposable. And they'd also then have to, you know, actually succeed at killing him, which is highly, highly unlikely. They don't have any armies in place to assault this place this turn, and even if they did, they wouldn't be able to break down the fort instantly, and even if they did, that still wouldn't get them, that still wouldn't stop me from claiming the throne, I don't believe. They certainly don't have anything that can take out 4 Adons. detons. So we've got Macklemore coming up here, rocking his Phoenix Pyre script. So, like, I think we've won. None of my other thrones have been attacked. Nothing else is in danger. We have this one in the bag. Pretty sure. And Mechlin is under siege by Satis, so right up to the end, Satis was focused on destroying Mechlin and Nazca. Looks like Nazca itself is not dead yet. But yeah, lots and lots of skirmishing going on. And yeah, overall we are doing just fine. Tupac did lose here in Lyrato, so if we look at that, he lost because his escorts were killed, and that routed him. So the escorts did some work, but not like I've said before, against the Bandar warriors. Anakites actually aren't super efficient just because the Bandar hit really hard, so the Anakites only get so many kills before they are knocked down by the real hard hits of the Bandar. You can still see they're chewing a great big whacking lump out of this army, but eventually Tupac was driven off. But you know, he's just as healthy as he ever was. They keep trying to mind burn him, and it's just not working because his magic resistance is so high. But you can see those Anakites still got a lot of kills against the Bandar, but they did eventually die. I think it was still technically worth it, because Bandar are 16 gold, 16 gold, so trading at an 8 or 9 to 1 ratio, they're relatively efficient. But yeah, so we are I think we've got it. So we'll see what happens. So I'm going to end the turn, and turn 54, we'll see how it ends. So thanks for watching. Thanks for joining me on this this climactic journey of memes, the great battle of the Cancer nations, and I'll see you in turn 54. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's turn 54, and we have done it. This is the final turn of Disciples of YouTube. We made it. We made it, folks. They couldn't stop us. Mr. Ed the Talking Horse has finally become God over all. Now, unfortunately, Lucid, who'd hosted this game, actually deleted the game off of Snake.Earth before I got to look at the final turn, but he graciously sent me his turn file so that I could look at it that way. So if we look at the messages, Notorious B.I.G. claimed the throne of Gaia in the name of Mr. Ed the Talking Horse, and a true god has ascended. So the great ruler of Ashdod has ascended, and at his side is Wilberpost the Svartalf Mastersmith, ready to strike anyone who opposes the new god. One being rules supreme and has banished the false pretenders to places of darkness and eternal suffering. So that is it. That is the game. Now, at the very last turn, Sephiroth Weedlord Goku 420 cast Ghost Fleet, awakened Admiral Torgin, and so that was, I'm sure that was going to be extremely effective. Not. But Admiral Torgin basically is a global where this fleet of ghost pirates just randomly attacks coastal provinces and tries to take them and make them, I believe he makes them independent if he wins, and then also pillages the province and ends up giving it a whole bunch of unrest and decreasing population and all that stuff. But generally speaking, it's not very effective. In any case, in the end, well, to be honest, I don't know why this is lagging so badly. It might be due to it being somebody else's turn file somehow, I guess. But in any case, in the end, well, I'll go through a kind of a full little post-game analysis, but they just couldn't, the proper countermeasures to our thugs were not in place. And that was kind of what I was counting on, that everyone else was going to be so busy dealing with this situation, the birds, since they were already so invested in that they wouldn't have the countermeasures to things like this. I mean, there are countermeasures to supercombats. Ditanu, for example, are vulnerable to the spell Wither Bones, which does armor negating damage to undead specifically, and is unresistible, or Dust to Dust, which is the AoE 1 version of that. They're vulnerable to Undead Mastery or Control Undead, although those spells are magic resistance, resistible. So Ditanu, with the proper gear, are highly resistant to them. Adons are vulnerable to things like, and both of them are vulnerable to blood magic spells like Life for a Life or Leech. There's various things that they're vulnerable to, but none of those things were particularly deployed against us. So, sorry if there was a little glitch there. I had to, the game was lagging out again for some reason. So, to go over the game in general, and actually let's look at the, I believe we can look at the history of the games. This will kind of show us, we'll just leave this running in the background. It'll show us the various spread of people's dominions and territories as we go. So if you see here, we spread pretty quickly in the beginning, not out of line with anybody else. In fact, I think Satis actually outcompeted us early on. But we were, of course, fighting another player. And in the process, we took a lot of territory away from our closest competition. Meanwhile, Ulm over here expanded more or less without problems until they hit Eriu. And then once we'd taken Vanheim and then Eriu, of course, we just had a lot more resources available than any of the other teams. Our biggest ally in this game was definitely Nazca and Mictlan. The fact that Nazca and Mictlan were such a threat effectively meant that we were kind of left alone in a way that we really should not have been left alone. You can see here, late summer in the year 4, that's the last turn there where we claimed this throne in the New Coast. So we won this game on the back of not actually doing much fighting. We had one war, which was fairly early game, did not involve large armies, did not involve advanced magic, and which we went into with a huge advantage just based off of being Ashdod. In early wars, Ashdod is crushingly powerful because Ashdod's power, the Anakites, comes online instantly from turn 1 with their whatever ridiculous bless they've chosen, and everybody else's power kind of takes a while to get rolling. Even Nazca takes several turns to get up to Conjuration 3 where they can start really spamming out Condors. So, I mean, if Ashdod and Nazca started next to each other, I think it would probably be possible for Ashdod to rush Nazca down, and just cripple them. If only by placing their capital under siege to slow their research, by taking all of their resources so they can't afford to recruit mages, which limits their spawn. Now, Nazca would still be spawning Condors. It would still be a tough fight, and I think Ashdod wouldn't really want to take it. But with the proper bless, I think you could make Anakites capable of fighting, several times their number in Condors. And I think you could, it would definitely be a clash of titans. But this was a very interesting game because, as someone else put it in the Discord, I think it was JB, as JB put it in the Discord, it was as if, our 5 teams were going to a charity baseball game and 3 of us brought ringers, while 2 kind of took it in the spirit it was intended. As I said, when I joined this game, I looked at the teams that had already been created, and the 2 teams that had already been created were Satis and Pangaea, and Nazca and Mictlan. And then Lucid had already said he was playing Bandar Log, and his ally was Marignan. So we were the second to last team. So I looked at that team and I said, oh, okay, this is going to be a try-hard, no-holds-barred, go-for-the-throat meme game. And also Lucid is here, basically. So I went try-hard meme, basically. And nobody tried to stop me. And honestly, I was very lucky in this game that I didn't have to fight a serious war with Satis or a serious war with Mictlan. And that was really what made the difference for us. We weren't being put on the defensive all the time. We weren't being attacked from 2 sides. We weren't being aggressively pressured. We weren't even under our heartland was never under threat after Eriu was removed. The only thing that ever happened in here was raiding Shi lords. And that got dealt with pretty expeditiously, actually. The team of Ashdod and Ulm has a lot of synergy, and I think it's a lot of synergy that people didn't appreciate very much at the start of this game because they looked at the obvious difference, which is that Ashdod takes a Hell Bless and Ulm takes no Bless whatsoever, and they said, oh, well, okay, why would you do that? Because Ulm has no Sacreds, they won't benefit from the Bless that you're sacrificing all of your scales to get. But as I've said, Ulm doesn't need scales. The only scale Ulm wants is Production 3. Everything else is on the chopping block. Drain 3, they almost always take. Growth, obviously they want growth, just like everyone wants growth, but it's no more vital than for anything else. Turmoil, Ulm doesn't care about turmoil. Heat or cold, Ulm doesn't care very much about those either. So it's Production 3, Growth 3, everything else you can just drop in the toilet and forget about. And that actually synergizes very, very well with Ashdod, because that's what Ashdod does. Ashdod crushes, like, the traditional way to play Ashdod is you crush your scales, and you take a disgusting bless for your Anakites, and you go hog wild pig crazy on whoever's near you with Anakites in order to secure the resources so that it doesn't matter that your scales are worse than everybody else's. You have the territory and the mass and the momentum to overwhelm people regardless, because you're still making more money than them because you have more territory, and you still have more resources available because you have more territory, and etc, and etc, and etc. Dominions rewards taking territory more than anything else in the game. So that was that was the strategy going in. And then, of course, Ulm got to feed me free items all game, while I fed them gems, and they fed me items, and there was, like, that is a synergy that is hard, in my opinion, to overstate. The ability, like, Ulm's ability to churn out 1 gem basic items and 6 gem powerful items is mainly limited by the fact that they don't have easy, cheap access to good thugs. Ashdod does. Ashdod has thugs coming out their ears, and so when we can take those really cheap items and combine them with the excellent thug options that Ashdod has, now you have a really, really scary combination. That was why, I had those, the Ditanu and the Adons just going all over the place. They were my main fighting force. I was barely recruiting troops for significant chunks of the game. Like, my game-ending army was, less than 100 units? About 30 units here. Mainly scouts and Anakites. It just wasn't all that much. I think the game is lagging because I think this is Dominion struggling when it has to show all these banners, possibly, because look, it speeds way up when I zoom in. Interesting. I would not have thought the game was that inefficient. But in any case, I think that's the problem here. Maybe we can turn those off. Maybe that will help. Yeah, that helps. Turning the boxes off helps some. Okay. So, I basically won this game through treachery, which is how Dominion's games tend to be won. The pivotal point for me was when we began to attack the birds, and then quietly backed off, and no one jumped us for it. We fought with Mictlan here for like 5 minutes, and took 2 forts, and then gave one of them back, and left. And we sort of desultorily sparred up here a little bit to kind of keep up appearances, and Ulm sparred a little bit over here to keep up appearances. But realistically, we were not fighting that war for more than, 4 turns? 5 turns? Something like that. And then we just fucked off. We just took all our guys, and we moved them up here in order to execute the actual plan, which was, of course, to take the thrones. The throne rush is... I've never been in a game of Dominions that wasn't won by a throne rush at some point. Sometimes it takes a longer time. Well, I guess Once More Into the Breach was more or less won by crushing military superiority. The way I tend to play is, I'm not going to try and slam my military might face first into somebody else's military might, because I'm bad at that. Frankly, I'm not very good at it. I'm much better at this. But as I've said before, I was puzzled by the choices that 2 of the teams made. I was puzzled by Aryu's choices. I was puzzled by Lucid's choices. We've talked about it in the chat some, and he has decent reasoning behind what he was doing. And yeah, Ethereal can be effective. It definitely can. One of the reasons that Ditanu are so good is that they are naturally ethereal. And so being ethereal means that there's a lot of threats in the game that just aren't as relevant for them. Now, I am very much of the opinion that ethereal is a lot bigger deal for thugs than it is for troops, because troops are going to be statistical defenses like that don't matter as much for troops as they do for thugs, and defenses like that don't matter nearly as much on somebody who doesn't have multiple layers of defense. Ethereal works really well for Ditanu as part of a suite of defenses where they have all the elemental resistances at 10 or 15. They have the ethereal, they have a really high defense score, they have a really high protection score, they have a shield of some kind that causes some kind of effect, they have the fear and awe combo. All these things that are just cutting down the numbers of attacks they're facing and cutting down the amount of damage that's coming in, and then they have regeneration and all that stuff. When you stack all those defenses up, ethereal is an important part of the combo. Ethereal on troops, on the other hand, is generally fairly mono-layered. Like, most of the time, ethereal troops are not going to have 4 or 5 layers of defense in the same way that super combatants will. Sometimes they'll have 2 or 3, and that's a very powerful combination. If you get ethereal mist form and then cast Army of Lead or something, now your troops are extremely frightening because they have 3 layers of defense. And it's going to be, like, you can still kill them more easily than you kill thugs, but there's 100 or 200 or 500 of them. And you can see how that becomes a problem to deal with. But an ethereal bless on fairly mediocre sacreds, I don't know. I still don't think it was the best choice that they could have made, especially when it came to taking an imprisoned god to pay for it. And you'll notice in this game, it never came into play because Marignon's god was killed, and before it could activate the bless. And I think in a game that contains Nazca and Ashdod and Pangaea, you have to anticipate that happening. Like, you can't. I think planning for the late game it's a mug's game. It wasn't a decision that took into account the realities of what this game was going to be. This was always going to be a rush game because it's big rush, big bless, cancerous nations fighting each other. And if you want to live in the middle of that, you've got to be prepared for it. I mean, that was why I didn't take Phlegra. I wanted to take Phlegra. I love Phlegra, obviously. I wanted to try them out again in a tougher context. I wanted to see how well my tactics would hold up, but I looked at the other teams in the game and I went, no, I can't take Phlegra here because I'll just get rolled. Phlegra's a decent nation and all, but especially in a small game like this, where there are effectively 5 players, Phlegra does not have a good defense against Condors. Phlegra doesn't have a great defense against Pangaea, to be honest. I mean, they're a very middle-of-the-road faction. They're not going to do well against these mono-focused Bless Rush factions. And that was why I took Ashdod, because Ashdod is a mono-focused Bless Rush faction, or at least can be played very well in that style. You can play Scales Ashdod, but hey, I don't see why you wouldn't just pick another faction if you want Scales. But as a nation, Ashdod is extremely well suited to defending itself against that kind of behavior, and executing that kind of behavior on other people. So that was why I took it, because I looked at Nazca, I looked at Pangaea, I looked at Mictlan, teamed up with Nazca, and I just went, okay, this is how it's going to be, then I guess we're going to play that way. In terms of what I did, I think what I did worked well. There were weaknesses in my style in this game that could have been exploited. For example, I was not recruiting many quality troops. I did not use Ashdod's giants very heavily. I did not build large armies or large communions, and that could have been exploited. If I'd been forced to go into a real war, I think that would have hurt me quite a bit because, of course, thugs and super combatants are counterable. Like I said, both Ditanu and Adons are counterable by specific spells. Now, my having access to really cheap gear so I could fully gear every single one, pretty much, definitely helps with that. But even so, I could have been, all it takes is one lucky cast of Soul Slay, and that's, a super combatant down the drain. In particular, if Pangaea and Satis had fought me, they would have forced me to adjust my strategy dramatically in order to deal with them. I would have had to be stacking poison resistance on everybody, which would be hard because they didn't have much nature. I would have had to have been very careful about how I deployed, because getting an Adon caught in a Skelespam trap could be disastrous. Now, I mean, there's obviously counterplays, but in general, I think Satis would have been very, very well positioned to take my team out, because I didn't have many troops, and Ulm's troops are highly, highly vulnerable to foul vapors and Skelespam. Ulm's troops are the opposite of fatigue neutral. They would tend to fall asleep fairly quickly fighting skeletons, and if Rigor Mortis and or foul vapors were in action, which they definitely would have been, Ulm's armies would have just basically self-destructed. And that would have been very, very hard to stop, especially, once again, given our dearth of nature. We had, none. Basically no nature. Had the one Grove of Fertility over here. Had, one other nature site somewhere. I think my nature income was 2 by the end of the game. Also, what the hell, Lucid? You had Why do you have 200 fire gems? Why? That's ridiculous. Empower somebody, man. Come on now. You could empower somebody up to freaking fire 4. In any case. So, yes, there were players that could have done tremendous damage to us, but partially we got lucky in that Nuclear Monkey was distracted and was traveling for work during the game, and so I think a lot of his turns were hurried, and a lot of his turns were actually done by JB, who was playing Pangea. So that helped us out in that he wasn't paying as close attention as he could have, and if he had been paying real close attention, he might have come in against us sooner. I think I feel like Delka was taken by Satis. I don't remember. I thought we weren't adjacent. In any case, he might have fought us, I guess, if he'd been paying closer attention. But both Satis and Pangea were very, very much wrapped up in fighting Nazca. And that was, as I've said, that was the single biggest contributor to our victory here. The fact that Nazca is frightening. The existence of the Nazca and Maitland team basically drew the attention of Satis and Pangea and kept it locked, laser focused on the birds, and they discounted everything else. They paid us almost no attention throughout the entirety of the game, and that allowed us to basically set our plans and assemble our resources and move in a concerted fashion towards winning the game in a way that wasn't super obvious. Now, I mean, JB was saying like 3 turns ago, alright, can Ashdod just hurry up and win the game already? And at that point, yeah, we were pretty close and it was pretty obvious what we were doing. But we didn't get caught 10 turns or 15 turns out, which we absolutely could have been if it hadn't been for the fact that Satis and Pangea were locked in this endless war against the birds, which they won, effectively, but only very, very, very slowly. Like, notice this. They finally, at this point, collapsed the border here. They've taken this fort. They're besieging Mictlan. So Mictlan's on the ropes, like, definitely. But this took them 30 turns. It was a long, long war. This war has been going on for more than half the game. And down here, like Nazca, yeah, Pangea has taken a lot of provinces out of the middle, but then Nazca has also taken a lot of provinces out of Pangea. You know, this is Pangea's capital. It's got birds just sort of sitting there next to it. Nazca's capital also has, you know, some centaurs, some Pangeans next to it. But this battle is not determined. This battle is basically done. This one is not even at this point. And there's still a very terrifying stack of Condors and Supayas here. And there was another one in Bandar Log's territory. I don't know where it went. Maybe... I don't think Lucid beat it. Yeah, that was just province defense. I don't know. I don't know where that army went. Maybe that's this army. But in any case, it was... Basically, Nazca is so broken that 4 out of the 10 players in this game dedicated themselves to destroying it. 2 of the players, of course, we knocked out. And then... yeah, then our competition after we'd taken out the elves was entirely dedicated to fighting someone else, and so we were just kind of allowed to steal the game. So in any case, thank you all so much for watching this series. I'm excited. This is my, like I said, this is my actual first victory in a multiplayer Dominions 5 game, and it tickles me pink that happened in this context. That my first win got to be a win against the internet famous Dominions 5 players, as it were. But in any case, if you liked this series, consider subscribing to the channel. Consider hitting the like button on the video. That'll help tell YouTube what of my content people enjoy, and kind of help guide the algorithm in its little mechanical brain to decide what it should show to people who are looking through Dominions 5 content. And I would just really like it if people saw my content, because I think it's pretty fun. I mean, that's just my opinion, but anyway. If you really enjoy my content and want to support me, consider checking out the Patreon. It's, you know, a little online tip jar where you can help me out and get access to the Discord server that I hang out on all the time, and where I can answer questions, and where occasionally I'll be setting up games going forward. Now that my schedule has kind of calmed down with all the things that I'm doing already, I am planning to set up a subscribers game of Dominions pretty soon, which will be broadcast, of course, as it happens. So that will be extremely fun. That's definitely something to look forward to, at least for me. But in any case, whether you do or not, Hope you enjoyed the video and the series, and I will see you all in the next one.